Mosaic. Broken stained glass windows and shards of shattered mirrors. That is what my mind is. And hell, maybe that's your mind too. You just don't know it as well as I do. The streams and streams that make up our minds, and every morning we wake, we change the portrait that those shattered pieces we call our minds. The me I was yesterday, the me I was before I woke, cannot define the self I am today, as the one I am today cannot define who I will be tomorrow, or tomorrow, and forever on tomorrow, to the infinitieth power. Insanity, you call it? Possibly. If we all shrug off these cloaks of attempts to define ourselves, we just see how little sanity we really do have. We live off stability, though we ourselves really aren't. We live acting as though we can name everything as though we were the first men on Earth. Maybe we all are. Maybe all this documentation that we have were years past, were all fabricated by our own consciousness to provide the stability that we crave. You wouldn't know anything if that stupid note reminding you to do this and that would still be there after death. No one could prove that once we as an individual dies that everything stays behind. Could argue to the contrary that someone could see the world following your death, but that is probably someone else's eyes. If others even exist other than to keep ourselves company, that is. There really isn't much holding us together, is there? You should stay on the path, the crow said. He had turned around and looked at her like she was crazy. She just shrugged and continued. They make him for a reason. He had to get paid for drawing thick lines in the dirt, he replied. Is that communism I'm hearing? Sure, stay off the capitalistic path, comrade. You really amaze me sometimes. Amaze in a good or bad way, though he already knew the answer to his own question. She pretended to look thoughtful. Gee, I wonder. What do you think? More of a statement than a question. I don't know. Ask the audience their opinion. What audience is there? The man who has wiretaps in the sterile area? Hey, don't joke about that. That's not funny. You only used to do that. Do you really have to if his hearing is supposedly so great? Does having 4 extra ears really improve your hearing that much? And what's also equally screwed up is that somewhere someone is probably trying to make reference to your random killings this very minute. Well, in my defense, I gave him fair trials. He looked mildly appalled at that comment, but then shrugged it off, and so the two dragged on. He had decided to break the silence, apparently unnerved by it. Where are we going anyway? You never answered when he asked you earlier. Ricardo shrugged. Well, nowhere in particular. I just felt like walking out for a while. You can always head back. I just said I was leaving, and then you said, I'm going too. without really knowing where. Maybe I wanted privacy or interfering with my private time. If it were that personal, you would have told me to stay behind. Yeah, that's true, but I'd also probably have to give you a death threat before you actually leave me alone, since you acting like you're so rebellious. But I probably also wanted someone to accompany me. Who knows? I stopped at a river where there was a fresh corpse. She stepped closer to it. It is a restful place to die, isn't it? Looks like it, but death's probably waiting behind every corner. Rolled it into the river and followed the body as it floated down, making the water red as it moved. I stopped and turned around after a few steps. What is sanity? And now what is insanity? You can point to a person and say who is sane and who isn't, stating that the world can be so black and white. It's almost like to point out who's good and who's evil. Is it possible for someone to be both simultaneously or neither? How thick is the line between the two? If it is thick at all. You tapped a finger on the center of her forehead. You're thinking too much. Don't do that. Your fingers are really bony. It feels weird. In response to that comment, he began to poke her harder and harder until she kicked him into the river. Don't be mad at me. You didn't stop poking me with your weird hands. Besides that, I don't even know where they've been. Look at that person who doesn't wash their hands. Well, if you had any doubts about the cleanliness of my hands... Nonsense, there's millions upon millions of animal kills in there. I think you're just splitting hairs. The fact that you're not telling me whether or not you wash your hands is unsettling. What is that over there? I'm not falling for that. Sometimes I wonder where I am. Yet I sometimes doubt the little joys I get today. Legally, insanity is defined as when the extent that one's control of one's actions is almost non-existent. Have I always been able to control myself? I wonder. Maybe all this time I could win groups of people just by giving some BS speech sprinkled over with charisma and eloquence. I wonder if they've been blindly following some undisciplined fool. All these consciousnesses I've touched. I wonder if I was simply trying to find someone as unstable as I am. Is that what the search for friendship and the search for love is? No. One day I'll fade out and curves through the distance. One day I'll fade out and I won't be there with you. You'd find someone or something to fill that gap. I guess if I were in the same position, I'd fall apart, go insane. I'm wondering what you would do. He grabbed her by the arm and pulled her in the river with him. That's what happens when you think too much. He poked her again. I also thought you didn't dwell on what ifs. If something like that happens, we'll worry about it when we get there. Your mind's always on the future, and then you'll forget what you're supposed to be doing right now. Apparently, Makura had nothing more to say on that subject. It's really cold in here. I feel just fine, actually. It's because your body temperature is about 20% higher than everyone else's. Did you actually calculate that, or are you just trying to sound smart? You say there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Now, are you afraid of the animal kills, or whatever you call them? Sure, they'll eat your soul. I have none. I can believe that. And now for a look into the philosophy of the less academic Hiei. Bring a person to me and I'll tell you if they're insane or not. It's probably not accurate or analytical, and I don't give a shit. Well said, my fine sir.